find out and have a conversation, explore the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's success survivor and change mentor, no other than Mr. Larry Mandelberg.
Hello, Daniel.
Welcome, Mr. Larry on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I can?
Well, yes, I'm a fifth generation family owned business person. My family started in the 1850s selling hides and furs. I'm probably also one of the few people that you've met that has over 50 years of experience with technology. I bought my first computer for our family business in 1973. During the course of my career, I've owned 13 different businesses in six different market areas, from retail to wholesale to nonprofit, three technology companies. I have a pretty broad and deep level of expertise, and I've spent my entire life working with leadership teams, trying to help them manage change and be more successful.
Be more successful. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Larry. Thank you. And today let's talk about you don't know why you're in business. So tell us the core admission. The title of our conversation today is Provocative Statement. What are your most common tell signs that our founder or leader genuinely doesn't know where they are business, even if they are outwardly successful?
It's a very good question, and it's something that every business person, every client I work with struggles with a little bit. It takes a little bit of understanding. And I usually start by asking the leader or the leadership team if they can tell me what the purpose of their organization is. And they all say, of course we know. We're a law firm, or we're a distribution company, or we're in a marketing agency. They all think they know what the purpose of their business is. And I ask them to please reach out to several other employees. I typically ask for 10. Ask those employees to write down independently what the purpose of the business is. And I guarantee you, you will not get two answers that are the same. And immediately they say, well, that's really not the same thing. And I said, well, it kind of is, because if you don't understand the purpose of your business, then how can you tell who you're supposed to be doing business with and how you're supposed to be selling to them and how they value your products and services? And then they start to think a little bit. And then I say to them, here's the big question. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Let's say that you get your entire team to understand your purpose, and the entire organization all has a common understanding and a common focus. They're aligned, all marching towards fulfilling the same purpose, delivering value to a particular set of markets in a particular way that's cost effective for both parties. Let's say that you've achieved that. Here's the next question: who cares? So what? What comes next? You've won that game. You're now delivering, you're successful, you're profitable. What does that do for you? What does that get you? What opportunities do you now have that you didn't before? What's next? And that's the one that always gets people. I can get them to understand the value of purpose. But the minute I try to ask them what's going to happen once you've achieved that purpose successfully, they all basically say the same thing. I don't know. I guess we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Interesting, Mr. Larry. The success trap. How can a business be profitable, growing, and still be built on fundamental misunderstanding of its own why? What does the dissonance feel like for the team and the leader?
Well, it's very situational because you can have radical success for an extended period of time and still not have it be sustainable. If you look at companies like Hewlett Packard and Compaq, just to name two technology companies, they've been hugely successful, but they have had massive failures as well. Compaq no longer exists, and Hewlett Packard is a shell of what it once was. If
Mm-hmm.
you look at companies like Sears, and this is in America, this is not global, but Sears in America was one of the largest
Okay.
clothing and supply outlets for the general public in the country,
Yes.
and they've
Mm-hmm.
gone bankrupt. They were very successful, they were very profitable for decades and decades and decades. So you can have great success for an extended period of time and get away with it, but you can't get away with it forever. And some of the things that you start to see is you start to see people who resist beneficial change. We've always done it this way, Larry. Well, this way isn't going to work in the future. We have to change the way we're doing it. Staff says we're not going to change. We don't want to do it any differently. They're not prepared to handle change. They want to leave things the way they are. The other thing that often happens is there's something called the arc of success. And it occurs as you go through these growth periods. Someone comes up with an idea and the idea is successful. That success creates growth. Growth creates complexity. Complexity creates the need for controls in order to manage the complexity. And when you put controls in place, you lose flexibility. And the people who were at the beginning of that curve, when the idea was developed, say, I don't want to have to live by rules. I didn't have rules before. I don't want to have rules now. So that's another sign that a problem exists. And that causes people to leave. That causes people to say, I don't want to be in this environment. And the reason that they leave is because they don't have a bigger goal. What does that success get you? Does that make sense?
Makes sense, Mr. Larry. Makes sense. So let's talk about the founder's fag. Is this the confusion more common after a specific trigger like growth plateau, a competitive threat, or a personal burnout? Or is it often there from the start, mask the initial survival momentum?
There is a theory called corporate life cycle theory, and it is the study of how organizations grow and die. And it was developed in the 80s and it was became popular and public in the 90s. Books started to be written about it. It's a fascinating study of how organizations go through their life cycle, and it's shockingly precise and accurate. And part of why that is because every organization is made up of human beings. And the way human beings age is very predictable. You can't necessarily identify the exact time period, but you always know that a baby is born without teeth. And then they get their first teeth, their baby teeth, and then eventually they lose their baby teeth. And then they go through puberty. And as you get old, you start to lose your hair and your joints start to fail and your eyes fail and your hearing fails. It's very, very predictable. And so is the way an organization ages. So it's to your question specifically about founders, there's a thing called the founder's trap. And it's it's not something that destroys every founder, but it destroys most of them. And the reason that it destroys them is because they have to transition from more is better to better is more. Let me explain what that means.
Mm-hmm.
More means more sales, more revenue, more profits, more customers, etc. More, more, more. We want more. The problem is that as you get larger and more diverse, you end up serving people that are not suited to your services. So you start creating processes and systems and exceptions to deal with those outliers. You lose the opportunity for economies of scale. You lose the opportunity for identification of best practices because you're dealing with so many different organizations that don't fit your perfect model. So, what you have to do is you have to say to those people that don't fit your perfect model, going back to what is our purpose? This is who we serve. Just because we can get money from you doesn't mean we should be doing business with you. So more is better is the starting point for the entrepreneur, for the founder. When you transition to better is more, what you say is we're no longer going to sell to people that aren't in our target market. We're no longer going to put up with customers that take advantage of us. We're no longer going to put up with customers who resist us and fight us and take advantage and use us in ways that are not productive for us or for them. They don't respect us. They don't care about us. We're not going to care about them if they don't care about us. So we're going to cut them loose. I actually had a client that was losing a lot of money, and we got rid of over 50% of their customer base, and immediately they became profitable again. When you do that with a founder, they feel like you're taking away everything they've spent their life working for. More is better, and they can't handle it. And the next thing that happens is they realize, like I talked about the arc of success, when you get to that end where there's rules, when a founder starts an organization, the rules are his rules or her rules, my way or the highway. I'll tell you what the rules are and you follow them, and I'll tell you when they change, and I'll follow whatever rule I want. When you get to that next stage and you start to deal with larger success, the owner doesn't have the ability to ignore the rules. And he doesn't necessarily have the opportunity to just set the rules because they please him. Those rules have to serve the greater good. They have to serve not only the organization, but the customers you're serving. They have to create a positive environment for that market you're catering to. And if the owner doesn't like it and fights against those rules, why would anybody else in the organization follow them? So the owners, the founders get very frustrated because they've lost their ability to say, this is mine. I created it. I'm not following any rules that I don't make. That's what the whole founder's trap is about. Now, there are some founders who have the ability to make that change. And the ones that are the most successful are the ones that get out of the leadership role or the top leadership role and move into one of their areas of greatest skill and greatest joy. Often it's sales or marketing or PR, evangelizing. Sometimes it's technical. Sometimes it's people who just want to be in the back room doing technology, but they hire somebody else to come in and lead the organization. That's the founder's trap.
The founder's trap. So let's talk about the cause of not knowing, the decision making tax. How does a lack of clear purpose act as a hidden tax on every business decision, from hiring and marketing to product development and partnership? Can you give an example, Mr. Larry?
Yes, when you have clarity of purpose, when you understand the value you deliver and who you deliver it for, you can now recruit people who have a common goal. I want to be part of an organization that serves this market in this way with these products and these services. So you begin with alignment. You don't begin with, this is the work I like to do, and I think you guys are going to pay me a lot of money, so I'll come and do this work for you. There's no emotional connection. Beyond that, what happens after you're successful, that long term vision, our purpose is to serve this market and to become the standard for fill in the blank. That's the bigger goal. So you'd have to have something that makes people want to be something bigger than themselves. Give you an example. A charter school management company had a situation where they were having some rebellion from all their managerial leaders because they had autonomy on purchasing power. And they found there was a point in time when they found that they had dozens and dozens and dozens of cases of paper and no toner for any of the printers because everybody was ordering their own supplies and nobody was monitoring it for the whole organization. It was disastrous. They couldn't print anything. And they put rules in place and they took away ordering from all of the management groups. And they had a rebellion. And I went in and I talked to them and I explained to them, you're in an environment that's changing. And if you don't change with that environment, then you need to leave and go to another company that's smaller where you can have the flexibility and the freedom to do what you want. But if you want to stay here, know that the reason you're upset is because you are too successful. What you did was successful and made this organization grow. If you still want to be part of changing the way education works in this country, then you have to stop fighting and get on board and participate in those efforts. Now, let me say one more thing. One of the really important pieces here is that when you have a bigger goal beyond just today, this is what we sell, this is who we sell it to, something like we're going to change the way education works, or we're going to become the model for sustainable farming, something that's big, right?
Mm-hmm.
You recruit people who want to do that, and then every strategic objective should be designed to move you closer to that ultimate goal. If it doesn't move you closer to that goal, it's not good. It's not a strategic objective. So when you promote someone or when you hire someone, they need to be coming on board and you need to recruit them based on their interest in helping create the model for sustainable agriculture or improve education or whatever else that big picture goal of that organization is, and everything else follows. When you have that emotional commitment to the long term goal and the short term delivery, you have no turnover and people are committed and they're engaged. That's the magic, right? And they're tolerant of change because they understand that if they tolerate the change, if they go along with it, and if all those decisions are directed towards achieving the goals of serving the customer and that long term vision, they're going to be pursuing something they care about and they'll go along with it. That's how you avoid making bad decisions, by connecting everything to that purpose piece.
So let's talk about the skeptical pragmatist. How do you say to the leader who insists my why is to make money and provide for my family? That is all purpose I need.
So, what I say to that person is, if that's all you care about, that's fine. I can't help you. If you care about something that's bigger than yourself, I can help you. But if all you care about is a job and making money to take care of your family, then all you're focused on is money. And you can make money doing anything. Money is not hard to make. If you like your job and you like what you're doing and you like the way you're doing and you don't want to grow, and someday you will be too old and too tired to do this. If you think you're going to accumulate enough money by then to live without the business, you do it on your own because I can't help you. If you don't care about something more than money, I'm not going to tell you it's wrong. I'm just going to tell you it's not sustainable.
Not sustainable, people, not sustainable. So, Mr. Larry, tell us if, let's say, when a leader moves from a confusion to authentic clarity of the why, what is the most profound change they report? Is their business results, their team's energy, or their own personal life?
I could spend 4 hours talking about that, David. Um, One of the first things that happens is that there's a shift in the culture and you have a reduced pressure on management. People are able to stop micromanaging and paying attention to little details and give staff the freedom to do things based on what they know is right, because we're all working towards the same purpose. So you have a reduction of pressure on all leadership and management. That's the first thing. The second thing is little problems go away, they don't exist. Most people that are successful and profitable and don't have clarity of purpose complain that their days are constantly disrupted with minor distractions that keep them from getting done what they want to do and what they need to do. And it's the same thing over and over again. I'm constantly distracted by this problem and that problem. Why can't we get those problems fixed? Those distractions go away. They cease to exist. That's the next thing that happens. The next thing that happens is you start to notice that you have less turnover of your staff and less loss of your customer base. Once you clean out those customers that aren't ideal, you are so much better served to serve those that are your ideal clients, that they begin doing more business with you. And the next thing that you see is that you start attracting people without trying. You have businesses start coming to you saying, I want to do business with you because I heard you're a good company to do business with. My friend told me. Or you have people coming to you saying, I want to work with you. I have a friend of mine who told me this is a great organization to work for. This is what you care about. This is what I care about. I want to be part of this with you. So the benefits are immense. And as I say, I could go on for hours about this.
Mhm. Okay, so to wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Larry, was where the moment your own career or with the client where the realization you don't know why your business hit with full force? What was the catalyst of that outcome?
Well, it was triggered. I'm thinking of one very specific organization, and it was triggered after 20 years of profitability from year one, from the day it was founded, still led by the original founder. And in the 20th year, for the first time ever, they had a loss. They lost about $300,000. The second year, they lost $500,000. And by February of the third year, they were on pace to lose $800,000. That was three losses in a row when they'd never had any for 20 years. That's when they called me. We came in. I went through my program. We got them clarity of purpose. The founder resigned. Two other members of the 7-member leadership team resigned. And by the end of that third year, they broke even. They didn't lose a penny. And they were been profitable ever since.
Yes, what an empowering answer, Mr. Larry. So, can you please invite all listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, my goal right now is to share the knowledge of this research that I did, that my book is about, that all of my training and my education is about, with anybody who's interested. Go to the website. Everything is available to you, from a $10 Kindle book. Everything you need is in there, to workshops and speaking engagements and keynotes and hands-on hand working with certain clients. I am not looking for business. I am semi-retired and I'm terribly happy with what I am doing. I just want to get the word out. So if you want to understand what it makes, why businesses fail and how to avoid it, go buy my book. Businesses don't fail, they commit suicide.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Larry Mandelberg, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering business will rise. So, Mr. Larry, thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, my pleasure.
Modicom people, see you soon.